I'm Martha Lane Fox. I'm co-founder of lastminute.com back in the dawn of time, and now I am executive chairman of Doteveryone. Doteveryone is a charity, it's a think tank, and we are trying to promote responsible technology, and that is a big ambition for a small organisation, but we want to help legislators responsibly legislate the internet. We want to help people building internet-based companies build products and services that are more responsible, and we want individuals, us as users, to have a bit more understanding of what they're interacting with and using, because we feel like there's still so much potential in using technology for the greater good, and that there's a lot that we can do by building that movement. We're not directly focused on the everyday person. We're kind of focused at the system change level. So we're helping people in the public policy world understand the internet better. We're helping people who, leaders in health, who are leaders in legislation. But we're also trying to help people who are building these products and services that we will all use to build products and services that are more responsible. I think that the good thing is that the conversation is happening more broadly than it has ever happened before in my working lifetime. Now, I don't know if that means that things are really changing, but at least the first part of change is to, agree that there is an issue and to start to then work out solutions. So there are more programs going on in corporates, there are more programs going on in the finance world, there are more people from outside the sector saying, hold on a minute, there's something not working here. When you only have 2% of founders that are women, you only have like an even tinier percentage that are VCs who are women. So I think people recognise this has got to change, and people are starting to take action. But if I was a young female founder, I think you just have to be very resilient. It's incredibly hard raising money, full stop. Whether you're a man or woman, whatever, it's a hard gig being an entrepreneur. And to kind of think you can breeze in and you're going to be all fine, regardless of your gender, your ethnicity, whatever it might be, it's hard. So I think the first thing is to build real resilience, to be absolutely at the top of your game, know the answer to all the questions, make sure that you are on top of your business. And I've always found that working with a co-founder is brilliant. And I don't mean that as a woman you need a male co-founder, you can be two women, but then you've got to kind of another person to test ideas with, they've got another person to say, well, I don't know if that was the right answer, and so on. So I think there's a real strength in numbers, and that's a good way of also building confidence and resilience. The boardroom is a very strange place, I can say that having sit now on a lot of boards, and I think it's sort of important that there are women on boards. Obviously I think that there should be half women on all boards, but that is not going to answer the deep question of diversity in a company. I've been in boardrooms where I know there are lots of women on the board, but actually the executive team, there might be practically no women at all. And so you've got to make sure you look deep into organisations. And I think that is a whole set of challenges that are very different to why women aren't starting businesses or why women aren't getting money to start their businesses. And they're quite distinct challenges, but they all come from the same place, frankly, which is that I think very often it's not because men are bad. I love men. It's not to do with that. It's the fact that just people haven't been looking at this stuff. There's been an absence of data. There's been an absence of recognition, and there's been an absence of understanding about how much richer, I mean that both culturally and economically and for society, we would all be if women were equal part of the equation. Well, I think the first thing is measurement that companies are doing to help change the diversity. You can't change things if you don't know the dynamics. So all the stuff around gender pay gap reporting is important, but also just publishing digitally the inclusion metrics and so on. And then I think from that you can start to see, well, where are the pressure points? Where are women leaving the business and why? Why are women not getting promoted? Why are women not in this particular area of the business? And sometimes it can be quite simple solutions, I'm sure, but sometimes it's also more complicated. I'm not naive. I think these things take decades, but at least the conversations are happening and the data is starting to be driven. And there are a lot of male champions for change, and that's very, very important. As I said when I was speaking, my role models tend to come from history, not from the present day. My role models, I think of two immediately. My mother, who is an extraordinary woman, not highly educated but very bright, who was always doing entrepreneurial things with her best friend, always working, very generous spirited and talented person. But then I look back in time, and Mary Wollstonecraft is my all-time hero, campaigned for female education at an extraordinarily difficult time for women in the late 1780s and 90s. So I think those two, from the present day and way back in time, enough to remind you that things are possible. I'm not sure I think that all women who are successful are the same. Of course, that's so an absurd kind of thing to imagine, but I do personally respond and respect people who are authentic and generous spirited, and I think very often women have this kind of deeper empathy and ability to collaborate, and that when they can tap into that and not feel like they have to ape how men behave in an organisation, but bring their own true selves to something and their own whole self, that's very rewarding. And that's one of the things I'd say about being an entrepreneur. You know, it's completely fantastic to be an entrepreneur on one level, though it's hard and much, much more difficult than many things you could choose to do. You can be your true self. And that's one thing that I feel so lucky to have been. Not easy to put in a box, hard to give my job description, but actually at least I'm being Martha, and that makes it a deep sense of fulfillment. All women should think of themselves as digital as much as any man, right? I have never done a line of code in my life. I'm not a technical person, but I'm a curious person. Well, I'm definitely curious, but I'm interested in the world, and I ask questions, and I like innovation, and I like changing things, and I like possibility, and I like, you know, the dreams and ideas that come from the technological world. So you first of all need to really remember that you don't have to be technical to be working in the technology landscape. It's so fundamental. And I think that having broad, different role models, different people who've done different things, you know, you can work in marketing, or you can work in product design, or you can work in UI, you can do loads of different things. That's really important. And I think the second thing is, to me, this isn't optional. We live in an interconnected world, and we live in an internet-enabled world and a digital world. If you want to be taken seriously in any role right now, you have to have a curiosity and an understanding of that technology. So it's not optional to me. You have to own it and drive it and think about it.